Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Capes Crusader, Cody, and we are keeping it geekly with two returning guests, Michael Katz and Keith Champagne, and two new friends, Ron Mars and Darryl Banks. We're here to break down the Riot EARP special and everything in between. How's everybody doing? And welcome to the stream, guys.
Thanks for having us, Cody. Doing
I don't have as much energy as you have, apparently, but everything's great.
I've been chugging down the monsters all day. I have 3 kids, so I gotta stay on top of that energy. If I slip 1 second, the house is destroyed.
Can't turn your back on them, is what you're saying.
No, absolutely. So, Michael, welcome back. We're here to break down the Riot EARP special, but you are coming hot off of your second Kickstarter for the last issue. Give us a little bit about how that's been for you and what's been going on since you last been on.
The second one went great. I think, considering I'm not a known quantity, I consider it a success, and I think this one's going to blow it out of the water, considering the name talent that's connected to it, which is why these guys are here. We're going to be going live, and if you want, Cody, I'll just get it out of the way.
Yeah, hit that button. Let's go live with it, and we'll drop that link right in the chat right now too.
Hit the launch.
Everybody that is watching, be sure to check this out with us. And if you're unable to back it, just simply retweeting it, putting it on Facebook, Twitter, anywhere you can. Word of mouth is 100% free.
I'm going to try to be the very first backer. All right, hit it. I got my phone ready.
You don't want to wait for the omnibus?
I'll get that too.
All right, we're live.
All right, where's my notification?
I just got mine. Popped up in my email.
Oh, I better check my email. Hang on. Don't you back it before I do, Ron. There it is.
Got your legs right out from under you.
I have it pulled up right now. We got a nice early bird special on that physical too. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I'm doing the variant cover by Jim Starlin. Skipping the add-ons. I'll put a little extra in the kitty for you, Mike.
Thank you.
You backed my last one like 16 times in one campaign, so it's the least I can do.
Yeah,
Boom! Backer number 1.
All right. Yeah, I was gonna wear my Daybreak T-shirt.
Oh, that would have been very, very, very kind of you.
I think I'm backer number 2.
All right.
Or maybe 3. It must be the high-speed internet.
It's like waiting for concert tickets.
Yeah, really, it is.
So, Keith, how was your Kickstarter as well? You just came off of one for Daybreak.
Daybreak 2 ended about a month and a half ago. The book just got fulfilled, and it was fun. It was kind of a stressful one. Like it jumped out of the gate like with a lot of momentum, and then it just hit a wall after a few days and just sat there. So that one took a lot of elbow grease to keep pushing it up the hill, but it got there and it ended up overfunding quite a bit. So I can't really complain.
Yeah, I was talking to Michael backstage, and I thought it was funny because we did interviews for each of his books, and the first one, was our first introduction. The second one, he had like the likeness of these 2 celebrities, and I'm like, dude, the third one, you just went all out, man. You just got like an all-star cast. So how'd you guys all end up meeting for the Riot EARP special? Like, how did that end up happening?
Well, the groundwork was laid years ago when my company partnered with a company called Visionary Comics to do a project based on the Deadlands role-playing game. We were going to do comics and prose projects. And the comics turned out to be a 4-issue miniseries. And Ron did the editing for that, and he wrote one of the issues. And then, years later, this was back in, it's so hard to remember these days. When did COVID start? 2019?
It seems like forever ago.
Yeah, it does. Anyway, during COVID, I had more free time because I wasn't driving back and forth to work, and my office is over an hour and a half away from my home. So it gave me a lot of free time, and that's when I decided I wanted to do a comic book. And my business partner, who's got the wallet, said, "Okay, let's do it." And it was his idea to get Ron involved, because he wanted to make sure that he wasn't pissing his money away on a crappy project. So we got Ron. Ron was kind enough to agree to be the editor for the project, and he's been my mentor ever since. He connected me to lots of people in the industry, and I thought, the RIOT special, which is actually a prequel to the series, was something that would be fun to see Ron write himself. And then I wondered, wouldn't it be great to have the team supreme of Ron and Darryl Banks back, doing something together? And Ron reached out to Darryl, and he was all for it.
So is this the first time you guys have worked together since you last teamed up with Green Lantern?
No, we've done different things. Wow, throughout the years, it seems like I'm probably forgetting some, but Ron and I, we did some work for Van Breed Studios, and we also did. Well, then there was the Green Lantern retro. When was that? 2011?
I don't know. There's pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. I don't know the years. But yeah, Darryl and I have, we take the opportunity to work together when we can, whenever we can. So when something like this came along and Mike was willing to team us up together again, it's kind of a no-brainer because, obviously what you work on matters, but I think who you work with matters more. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what kind of story I write. If I write a brilliant script and they hand it to an artist who is either not very good or maybe just not suited to that material, why bother trying? It's just not going to work out like you want it to. So when I get to work with Darryl, I've known for 25 years, and we've worked together on, I don't know, it's probably close. It's certainly over 50 issues together. It might be closer to 100 at this point. You work with people you trust, and you work with people that are going to bring their best to the project and breathe life into what you're doing together.
So what's that creative process look like between you two after working together for so long and having so many projects between you?
Well, I write it and he draws it. That's kind of how it works. It's, I think we can work a little bit in shorthand now because we've worked together so extensively, but I write a script that I break down into panels and then he draws it. And, and I trust Darryl to, if you want to change something, if you want to do, if you want to add a panel, take away a panel, I trust you implicitly to do whatever it is you feel like doing to the work, which is a great place to be. As a writer, you want to trust the person on the other side of the table from you. And obviously, Darryl and I have developed a working relationship as well as a friendly relationship over the years, and it's just it's the coolest thing in the world for me to send him a script and then wait for the pages to come back in batches. It's the coolest thing to see what the thing that was just a figment of my imagination previously gets turned into a real thing by the time he's done with it.
That's awesome. And I love how Michael was considering you his mentor, and now you two are working on a special for him in the RIOT EARP world. Wait, do you have something to say, Keith? Sorry.
I just have a question about that creative process, because you guys have worked together for so long. Like, do you before you write the script run, do you and Darryl ever sit down and do any plotting together, or is it just basically you coming up with the structure and banging out the script, and then Darryl just interprets it his way?
Depends on what the project is, I think. This one where sort of Mike had an outline of what the story, or at least bits and pieces of what the story should be and kind of the notes that it needed to hit. I kind of went in and just started to write with the sense that Darryl was gonna mold it the way he saw fit, and frankly the way that Mike saw fit too, because these are we're aware that these are his toys we're playing with. Really no different than working for Marvel or DC or Dark Horse or anybody else. You're being trusted to work with somebody else's property, to work with somebody else's toys, and within reason you have to play nicely with them. So part of the job is to make sure that Darryl and I are having fun and we're creatively satisfied, but also to make sure that we're telling the story that Mike is looking for, and that we're playing with those toys in a manner in which he's comfortable.
Well, I think for the next project you guys do, I would like Darryl to write it, and I want you to draw it.
Yeah, that worked out great.
The Adventures of Stick Figure Man.
Yeah.
So, Michael, how's it feel to kind of be passing the wheel off in terms of the RIOT world?
Oh, it's great having all these people involved. Keith, was the inker on the superhero book that I'm still finishing up, Golden Years, and Keith's friend Alfie Betts, who we can't really see in the screen there, and must be behind Keith, pitched in as a letter or two. And if he hasn't forgotten, he's going to be doing a pinup for the RIOT special as well. So we got the whole family.
Don't forget about that. He's glad you mentioned that, because he did totally forget, and there are a couple of pinups he needs to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So we get everybody's family here. It's great. It's Cody, the comics community is just friggin' awesome. And everybody,
is it though? Really?
Everybody that's not and doesn't have the initial CG.
I mean, and half of the comics world probably doesn't even know what that means. It seems like it's only like a certain part of the indie community where it's like really like a big thing, right?
Right.
So what's the RIOT special? Is this like a prequel? Like, where in the universe is this taking place?
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to start out with the first few issues of RIOT, written by me, drawn by Fred Bennis. I wanted to have my work, be the first to hit the streets, because I didn't want to have to, be the one following in Ron and Darryl's footsteps, because that would be tough. I wouldn't be able to live up to that. So we start out, and it takes place in 2055, but consider it modern day RIOT. And then I had an idea for a prequel, and I sent my outline to Ron, and he used maybe 2% of it. And Darryl has just done some of the most amazing work he's ever done.
Thanks.
You really have, Darryl. It's special. It's so nice.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
So are we seeing Ryan go back to, is this when he's in the Space Force, or like, is that too far into spoiler territory?
No, not at all. Issue 1 starts out where he's just gotten back to Earth. He and we know that he was kicked out of Space Force for some reason. He was a pilot in Space Force for like 5 years. He got kicked out for ostensibly for sleeping with a superior officer. He's a real hound dog, ladies man type. But that's all we know. So the prequel shows what exactly led up to the circumstances of him being dismissed from the Space Force. It takes place, really leading up to the very first page of issue number 1.
No, I love just how you guys are touching base back with it. I think the prequel is like such an awesome idea, and I it's funny too. Having Ron and Darryl like start the first issue would have been big shoes to fill. So I think you nailed it having them come in on issue number 3. So I think right now would be a perfect segue. Let's go ahead and pull up the Kickstarter. It just went live, and let's go through some of these tiers.
There are 2 backup short stories. One by me and Fred Bennis, the regular series artist, and another a Christmas themed story by me with another artist named Joel Souza, and he's got a nice cartoony Bruce Timm type of style, and it's a humorous story, so his style fits the story perfectly. So you'll see some of his artwork in this.
All right, absolutely. We are looking at the Riot EARP special by Ron Mars and Darryl Banks, a 64-page comic including bonus stories and art. Currently at $402. Holy crap, man. You just launched this thing and you're already almost at a fourth of goal, it seems. 12 backers with 29 days left to go. Let's go, man. Congratulations, guys.
Thanks.
Awesome.
So Han Solo meets CNN. Riot EARP is a well-balanced blend of action, sex, and much more by yours truly, keeping it geekly. Here's some of the interior as well. So who's this in particular? Is this Orion?
Yeah, that's Ryan Earp, and his like interest. I can't really say love interest for this guy, but that's his superior officer, Rachel. And that's him doing something that he's not supposed to be doing.
So the year is 2054. Prior to being a member of the California Highway Patrol, Ryan Earp was a pilot in the United States Space Force, assigned to a space station between Earth and Mars. In this special, we see the events that lead him to be kicked out of the Space Force and caused him to go back to Earth. The story is written by Ron Mars and drawn by Darryl Banks, who also supplies the cover. So some more interior pages here. I love this artwork. This is gorgeous.
Thanks.
And that is from the short story by myself and Fred Bennis. Fred's got a great style of his own. Fred is also the younger brother of Ed Bennis, who was did a lot of stuff for DC.
Mm-hmm. I love this art too.
Yeah, that's the panel by Joel Souza, obviously Christmas themed, and the book will be out. It'll be done. This one will be done in time. Yeah, I promise I have. Unless the letterer disappears like the last time.
And then here are some of the add-ons as well. So a set of 2 sexy winter pinups will be offered as add-ons. A pair of high-quality 8.5 by 11 prints for $12 for the pair. One drawn by Fred Bennis and the other by Joel Souza. Did I say that right?
Yep. Yeah. This one's by Joel right there. It's the 2 leading ladies, Josie and Peg, or pinup gals. And this one is by Fred Bennis. And if we break $4,000, I'm going to have a third pinup that I will throw in for free for anybody that buys the pair.
Well, absolutely. That's awesome. So let's check out some of these tiers as well. So, of course, we have the Jim Starlin variant cover for $25. I'm just saying that because I already pledged that one, so that's going to be up there. Okay. We have the early bird digital special at $8. The digital version, after 48 hours, right? Or is this 24?
Should be 48. I changed it from 24 to 48.
So after 48 hours, it's going to go up $2. We have the early bird print version at $12. And then after the early bird, of course, it goes up to $15. You get the print version plus pinups at $25. The comic book catch up at $35. So that's going to be all 3 issues.
Right.
And then we have both covers plus the pinups at $50. 60 or more, you get the Strider Nolan sampler comic pinups. So give us a little bit about this tier.
Okay. Strider Nolan is my publishing company, and we've done a lot of fiction and nonfiction, prose works. So you're going to get 4 books from our back catalog, and they range, from $10 to $20 a piece. So you're going to get more than your money's worth if you go for the Strider Nolan sampler.
We have a Fred Menace original commission at 160. Darryl Banks original commission at 160 as well. So, Darryl, what all are you offering with this tier?
If I'm reading that correctly, it's very similar to my usual, commission parameters. It doesn't have to necessarily be RIOT EARP.
Right.
It can be the client's choosing, within reason.
Wait a minute, I could get you to draw a Green Lantern?
No.
Damn.
I'm over. I'm over that. But on my Twitter page and my Instagram page is an example of pretty much what my commission work looks like for anyone that's curious.
And then we also have at 160 the Joel Souza original commission as well. And then at 160, see yourself in the comics, so you can get drawn into an issue of RIOT EARP. Which issue is that expected to be in?
This will be issue probably number 4, which would be out next year, and it's not just some cheap see your face in the background of a panel. You'll actually be in a couple panels with dialogue.
And then you also get the RIOT EARP special in print and digital, plus all pinups as well with this tier.
Yep.
Then that's it. So at this point, I think it'd be a nice place to kind of give a little bit of a more in-depth introduction to everybody. So Ron, if you wanted to go ahead and give us a little bit about yourself.
I write comics. I've written comics for a long time, actually. Look, if somebody showed up here, they probably have some sense of who I am. So I don't think we need to belabor it. But I've written comics for 30 plus years, including Green Lantern for 7 years, drawn by the lovely and talented Mr. Darryl Banks, read by the lovely and talented Keith Champagne, once in a while, I assume.
I got the omnibus.
This was a pleasure to have the opportunity to team up with Darryl again. Thanks to Mike wanting to get this project off the ground, and I think that was a big attraction for both of us, is that we get to do 40 pages together again. So I hope people check it out. It's a fun story, and not completely dissimilar to the kind of stuff that we did with Kyle Rayner for DC. In that, this is a guy who, this isn't James Bond or Jack Ryan. This is a guy just trying to, keep his head above water, which is something that I find intriguing as a hero. I'm much more attuned to writing heroes that are trying to find their way and learn the job as they're doing the job, rather than the hardcore expert who already knows how to do all this stuff. So. So hopefully people who were fans of our Green Lantern stuff might get a little bit of that vibe from this.
I hope Ryan stays away from refrigerators for all things holy, please.
Does that drive you crazy, Ron, when people bring that up?
No, gee, hardly anybody brings that up, actually.
No, never.
I officially burnt the bridge. I'm sorry, I had to. Darryl, though, give us a little bit about yourself as well, as the artist on the project.
Well, as Ron mentioned, I like the idea that you have a character that's learning the job as he does the job. And I feel like when you do that gives the reader a real anchor point that they can identify with the character, and they're learning about the story, just like the characters. I really feel like here we are 28 years later at some of the things that people liked about Kyle Rayner. But with RIOT EARP, what Michael and what Ron wanted to do with this character is that he's not quite the character that's just going to fight his way out of every situation. He's going to, I'm not saying that Kyle wouldn't use his wits. Of course he did. But Ryan is more of a, he's going to think his way out of every situation. And it's going to be a little bit different than what people may be used to seeing in Green Lantern, and I think that's a good thing. I think every time Ron and I work together, between whether it's Green Lantern, whether it's working on Harkin's Raiders, the World War II story, it's there's some similar territory, but then there's new things as well. And I feel like my goal, at least artistically, is I want my work to always be better. I have this, I almost say, phobia of stagnation, and so what I'm working on currently, I feel like it has to be a percentage better than what I've done yesterday. And so hopefully that any fans of Green Lantern will go, Green Lantern was good, but wow, this Riot Earth, this looks so much better. I mean, that's my personal goal for this. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that will be something that the fans will enjoy, both story and art wise.
No, absolutely. And Keith, give us a little bit about yourself as well, man.
In terms of my relationship to Riot Earp,
or just in general.
Well, my name is Keith Champagne. I'm a father of two. I reside in Connecticut, and I'm a professional comic book jack of all trades. Do a little of this, a little of that. Always dancing for quarters on the street corner. Whatever works. I was lucky to team up with the fellas on Riot Earp. They needed a letterer, and I recently have fallen in love with the craft of lettering. Like everything else I do, I'm amazing at it. And so, it's been like an instant, love connection. Getting to bring Ron Mars' words to life over the amazing artwork at Darryl Banks in this book is really fun.
It's really kind of the culmination of your career when you get right down.
A lot of people say oh, yeah, it is. People have been telling me that.
There's nowhere else to go. You got to retire.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in all seriousness, Keith writes and inks and draws, but he's doing the lettering on this gig, and I teach a comic book writing course, and one of the things that I impress upon anybody that takes it is that the lettering is like the icing on the cake. You can bake an otherwise lovely cake, and if you have lousy amateur lettering on it, it ruins the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
I wasn't looking at you when I said that.
I felt that in my soul, Ron.
I was thinking of you, but I wasn't looking at you. So you do all of this work. You write and pencil and ink and color, and the whole thing is really great. And then if you turn it over to a letterer who doesn't know the job and doesn't really get it, or in a lot of cases on an indie book, the writer goes, well, hell, I can letter that. I can teach myself to letter in 30 minutes. But it makes a huge difference in how the book is perceived and how the vibe of professionalism that the audience gets off of the book. And so it's actually kind of a pleasure to turn the pages over to Keith and know that he's going to do the job and it's going to look great. And he's upholding his end of the bargain, like hopefully the rest of us are on our particular jobs.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
What a compliment.
When you think about lettering, I mean, imagine, I'm sure we're all fans of Walt Simonson, and think about how his art is great. And you look at the combination when he was working with Tom Orzechowski with the big John Workman with the special effects and the sound effects, that sort of thing. It complements the artwork, and it's one of those things where I think it's greatly underappreciated. When you see that it's necessary to have a letterer that understands the image as a whole. I don't think a lot of fans really understand that that's not automatic. That takes a talent all its own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I often hear that lettering is like an art form in itself, and it's something you have to learn through years of practice to get really good at. So Keith, it sounds like you're killing it, man.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I don't want to brag or anything. No, it's funny, like Darryl said a little while ago, he doesn't want to stagnate. And that's why I ended up doing these different, stations in comics, different production stations. And right now I'm focused on lettering because I feel like I'm growing again and I'm learning how to do it better by the page. It's a game of pixels when you do it digitally. Like one pixel off in either direction makes such a big difference in the overall look of a balloon, or the balance of a balloon, or that interrupts the flow of a page. There's a lot more to it than people might expect, aside from my excellent spelling skills.
So what's everybody working on outside of the Riot EARP special? Any upcoming projects you guys are allowed to talk about?
Well, I do a lot of commercial illustration also. I've been doing that actually longer than my comic career. Kind of fit that in whenever I can. I work for a company called the Bradford Exchange. I've been with them for about 14, 15 years, doing a lot of licensed property things. If you check out their website, whenever you get a chance, you'll see the various type of products that they offer. I'm in the conceptual illustration department. So it may not be necessarily something that they always take to full production, but a lot of times they just want to visualize, well, what if, and what would this look like? What would that look like? And they have licensed properties from, it feels like everybody, and so that's something that it's ongoing. At one point I was doing a lot of toy design for Hasbro, but that was kind of years ago. And besides that, DC covers here and there, Partridge in a Pear Tree, the life of the freelancer.
Mm-hmm.
Little project called Horror Show.
I wasn't sure. Can I talk about that?
Yeah, you can talk about it.
Okay, all right. Yeah, besides Riot EARP, Michael and I are working on his horror story called The Horror Show. And I've never really done anything straight up horror before. And so that's something that I feel like, it's a challenge that I want to make sure that, people who are familiar with
Uh-oh.
a good horror story, or we think of him as doing
Got too spooky.
and you do.
Man, the spoiler ninjas came for Darryl.
So we will see. I hope hope everyone likes it.
Yeah, he's doing awesome work on it. I say it's almost halfway done. It has to take a back seat to Riot EARP and to Darryl's day job, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice. It's got some creepy panels, and it's a period piece set in the 70s, which I'm sure makes Darryl's work that much more difficult. But he's knocking it out of the park.
Thanks.
No, that is awesome. What about Keith and Ron? What about you guys? Do you have any projects that you're working on outside of the Riot EARP special?
Ron, do you, Ron?
I do. I can't tell you what they are, but I do.
No, that's fine.
Working on some stuff for Marvel to be out next year. Other odds and ends in comics. I just said this like half an hour ago on another podcast that I have a list of stuff here that I'm working on and I can never remember what it is. But yeah, there's 4 or 5 different projects that are all in various states of finish. And I'm also working as part of the narrative team on Diablo 4 for Blizzard.
Let's go. That is awesome.
Yeah, Cody's a gamer.
Yeah. That is so cool.
So I can't tell you anything about Diablo 4 or the spoiler ninjas really will show up and murder me.
No, that's fine. And last but not least, Keith, what about yourself, man?
Well, I recently left my position as an editor of the Virus line of creator-owned books for heavy metal. So if someone out there wants to hire me as an editor, I'd like to fill that slot in my schedule again. But aside from that, I have my little company, New Pain. I'm working on 3 or 4 projects for New Pain. I have a book for Image that I'm doing. I have a book for Aftershock that I'm doing. Mostly creator-owned stuff is where I'm at right now. If DC calls me tomorrow and says, do you want an ink issue, then I'll probably say yes. Or if they call Alfie Betts and say, do you want a letter, several issues of something, I'll probably say no, because I don't want to letter a book in 2 days. I like to take my time. But like Darryl said, Partridge in a Pear Tree, it's always freelancer life. Just take what comes and what looks interesting and say no to what doesn't.
What's that project you're working on with DeMatteis?
Oh yeah, so thank you for mentioning that. I probably should give that a mention. So it's on Kickstarter right now, a project called the Multiverse, which is JM DeMatteis. How do you say it, Ron?
DeMatteis.
I call him JM. So
All right, so JM. Everyone knows JM.
but I believe DeMatteis is correct.
So I built a Kickstarter for this campaign for 4 new titles by JM, all in different genres, with great artists like Tom Mandrake, Sean McManus. Who else is there? David Baldione, and our old friend Matthew Dow Smith from the Beast of the Black Hand. And it's a really cool campaign. Everyone respects and loves JM's work as a writer. So if you guys want to back something besides Riot, or if you have an extra $1 in your pocket after you're done with Riot, maybe jump over to the Multiverse and check out the next big thing happening.
DE Multiverse?
DE Multiverse, isn't that clever?
Okay.
We have Dr. Hino 419 over on YouTube stopping and say, hey y'all, and then J. Michael Miller, the whole team's here and just backed, so just got another backer on the special as well. Let's go.
All right.
So Man of the Hour, Michael Katz, you got a special coming out, got a horror comic. What about you? Anything else on top of those, or is this just kind of your main focus for now?
Well, finishing up my my superhero book, Golden Years, and the last few pages by Kevin McGuire, DC's own famed Kevin McGuire, and he just told me a couple days ago he's working on finishing it up and hopefully have it done by the rest of the year, and we can launch that sucker in February. That'll be 5 issues in a trade right off the bat. Art also by Jack Herbert, Neto Diaz, and Keith Champagne himself, and it's good work. And Neto, he just started working for Marvel, and he's doing his Thunderbolts #3 is his first work, and he did some X-Men stuff. And he told me that he used the Golden Years pages to get the gig at Marvel.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then there's one more book that's just starting to see the light of day. It's a sci-fi book called Metalhead. I've got an artist named Bruno Abdias who is just this week starting to do pages.
Sounds like everybody has like some awesome projects like in the future too. I'm so excited. Thank you all for stopping by this show and breaking down the Riot EARP special with us. This was an awesome time. Before we wrap things up completely though, we have a lot of seasoned like veterans in here, and I think right now would be a perfect time to ask you guys a question for anyone who might be new in the industry. So with that being said, let's finish the podcast strong. For anyone out there who is starting getting into comics for their first time, what would be your biggest piece of advice for them to kind of help them get started?
I get that question often, and my answer has changed over the years, but the number one thing to start with, relax. Now that sounds overly simplified, but I think because of the industry, because of social media, there's a lot of pressure, a lot of mental anxiety and things of that nature. I think it's like relax and realize you're doing something that you really love to do that's coming from your heart. And I think just taking a moment, take a deep breath and realize, it's going to be a lot of work, but this could be fun. Just relax, start there. I mean, the fundamentals of things to work on as far as the craft, but I think sometimes we often forget our mental state is very important, just as your skill set is.
I
wish you told me that when I first started working.
Same here.
That's some awesome advice, though. I think a lot of people don't consider just how important mental health is when getting into this, and how quickly stress can add up.
I think for me, the thing that I tell people is the best way to learn how to make comics is to make comics. Your learning curve is so steep as you're doing that first comic. You don't know what you don't know at that point, and you learn by doing it. And so, to a great extent, you learn by doing it wrong. You learn what to do, and you also learn what not to do. So if you want to make comics, just go make comics. And your first one's probably not going to be very good, and your second one's going to be a little better than the first one. And the third one's going to be a little bit better than the second one because you learn all the lessons as you go. But if you want to make comics, make comics. The most amateur comic that's finished and in somebody's hands is worth 100 times somebody's story Bible 100-page pitch filled with character designs. And look, that's not what people show up for. People show up for comics. So go make a comic and learn the lessons when you make that comic, and then make another one. And if you keep going and you get better at it and people notice you, you get to do this for a long time.
That's a good answer too. I'm gonna go make a comic.
Yeah. Sure. So Michael, Keith, what about you guys?
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, there's two ways to get started. Like Ron said, just do it and expect to do not that great, but get better each time. Or really go all out like I did, and make a big investment and hope that it pays off. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of competition these days. Yeah, anybody can make a comic, anybody can get it out there, thanks to platforms like Kickstarter and Zoop. So if you do it, if you build it, they will come. It's just a question of whether you get enough people to put their eyes on your project. That's the hard part. Mm-hmm. And I think to make that easier, be part of the comic community. Whether it's famed people in the industry like these three guys, or whether it's just your fellow indie creators on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you tap into that support group, because there are a lot of people out there that will help you out.
I'm learning a lot.
So let's finish strong with Keith then.
I mean, these guys, they took all the good answers already. I guess what I would say, the advice I give people when they ask me at a convention or whatever, like, how do I break into comics? I always tell people, be somebody that people want to work with. Nobody wants to work with a pain in the ass. At the end of the day, remember that you're not curing cancer. You're just making a comic book. And that doesn't mean that you can't love what you do and put all your passion into it, but keep it in perspective. Don't be so precious about it that you can't change a line or a word. None of us are perfect. We all have room to grow, and we all have room to learn from the people around us. So just be nice, be fun, enjoy the process, enjoy your collaborators, make working together a pleasure, and then people will come back to you to work with you more.
Some awesome advice all around. Thank you guys so much for that. Everyone watching, be sure to back Riot EARP Special tonight. Right here is the link. If you're unable to back, simply sharing it on Facebook or Twitter helps get the word out as far as possible. Thank you so much, Michael, Ron, Darryl, and Keith for stopping by. This was such an awesome chat. I appreciate it, guys. Everyone watching, I hope you all have an awesome Monday night, but most importantly, keep it geekly.